Greetings, cyberdogs and citizens of the internet. This is RENDOG coming at you from deep within the crack of Amazonia in this Let's Play Minecraft survival series. In the previous episode, we were exploring this giant ass cave system in search of lapis, diamonds, and gold and any other sweet booty that we could get our paws on. And in this episode, my friends, we're going to do a little bit more exploring and then make our way back to Mole City. And man, it is going to be freaking sweet. I'm also going to be telling you guys a little bit of a story. So sit back and relax, my cyber diggity dogs. Let's play some Minecraft survival. Now guys, since you were last with me and since we were last doing some caving down here, I've taken some advice that some of you cyberdogs were giving me, and I've been smelting down some of the iron that we collected in the previous two episodes in these furnaces over here. And what I'm going to do is turn these iron ingots into blocks of iron, and that's going to help us to conserve space in our inventory so that we can do a little bit more exploring. So while that jazz is smelting down there in that lava, this little lava cave we've got going on over here, let me tell you something, guys. It is freaking hot up in here. I am sweating myself something fierce up in this iron armor set, man. Seriously, damn! I smell like a freaking wet goat right now. Can't wait to get back to the mole hole, have a freaking shower, have a sleep. It's gonna be sweet, man. But that's what a Minecraft adventure is, man. It is a hot, sweaty freaking exercise. And if you manage to get out alive at the end of it, then you've also done really well. There's been many Minecraft adventures that we've gone on together that haven't really ended that well. But luckily, things haven't gone pear-shaped for quite a while. In fact, I don't think we've died on an adventure in a long-ass time. I think probably the last time we died on an adventure was probably Season 2. I don't know, maybe some of you cyberdogs with elephant memories can remember the last episode that we died in on an adventure. We've died in many other ways though, and probably like way worse ways. We've done a lot of dying while we've been crafting, and that's been unfortunate. But yeah, that's just the way it goes, man. When you try to build really huge structures and you forget to eat, that usually equals death. Yeah, and also if you're a noob like me at Minecraft, then yeah, the chances of dying are increased exponentially. But anyway, guys, I think I've got I think I've pretty much got caving down to a fine art now after like almost 3 seasons of Minecraft. I know all the tricks now, like how to use water to like use it for water vapors, how to clear out lava, how to like maximize mining, how to like take care of mobs especially. I think I've gotten much better at like controlling mobs, using water for example to stop mobs entering an area, and all of those sort of sweet ass strategies that you can use. So I'm actually pretty proud of how my caving skills have increased. Although it's probably taken way longer than it needed to. I'm also like way better at finding stuff. So check it out, guys. We're on Y11 right now, which means we are on diamond level, and lapis level is about 2 levels above us. So lapis is found mostly between 12 and 15, and diamonds between, I think it's 8 and 12. So this is kind of the area that we want to be chilling in right now, where we are now. I hear some zombies, which means there is another cave system pretty close here, and there it is. Hopefully we can break in here and find ourselves some sweet ass diamonds and stuff. Back the jazz up, son. That's what you get, man. That is what you get. You get an iron sword directly into your butt crack. Man, zombies will never learn, let me tell you. How many zombies do you think we've murdered in this series so far, in total? Man, I don't know. 1,000? At least, I would say. Right, there's a torch, so I've already been in that direction over there. Just waiting for all of that iron to smelt down, guys, and then we can really start like moving away from this area, trying to find a little bit more lapis. I'm pretty happy with the amount of diamonds that we found. We found like 7 diamonds, but I do want to find a bit more lapis. The main reason I came on this quest initially was to find lapis so that we can actually finally finish the Cyberdog monument. Like basically the last material that we need is lapis, and wow, that was really close to death actually. Let's go check on our iron, man. I can smell what is cooking around here, and it smells like iron. Tasty iron to the bit. But anyway, guys, I've been caving now a little bit without you guys for the last, I don't know, half an hour or so. And I've been doing a bit of thinking. when I play Minecraft, you know what, actually, like, I would love to know what you guys think about when you play Minecraft, but when I play Minecraft and I'm not recording, and that doesn't happen very often, like, most of the time that I'm playing Minecraft when I'm not doing maintenance work, I'm pretty much recording, so I don't often get a chance to just, like, play Minecraft normally, you know, like, play Minecraft without recording or without, like, thinking about the series, like, literally just play Minecraft for the jazz of it. But when we go on these adventures, I tend to spend a little bit more time, like, just playing Minecraft and thinking, and playing Minecraft as if I wasn't a Minecrafter, if you know what I mean. As if I was just, like, playing this sweet-ass game, like you guys do, for example. Or you guys who don't make Minecraft videos, anyway. But, ooh, there's a bit more gold. Sweet. But while I've been caving now for, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes without you guys, and I was thinking about a really sweet story that I wanted to tell you. He's trying to push me into the freaking lava. My own water trap almost killed me there, man. Oh my goodness, man. That zombie knew exactly what was going down there. Wow, that was seriously close. Okay, let my heart settle before I start with this story, man. That was way too close for comfort, freaking zombie. All right, there we go. A little bit more gold. So we're gonna basically get like 2 stacks of gold here, right? That would be awesome. Anyhoozle, after that near-death experience, I want to tell you guys a little story that I thought about. That I think. I don't know, I think, like, whenever I play Minecraft, I often think to myself about things that, I don't know, relate to the game. And what I was doing was I was thinking about, like, stuff that I crafted when I was younger. And I think I've told you guys about quite a few things that I've crafted. Oh, there is some lapis. Sweet. Claw, it is time to get busy. I've told you guys, like, quite a few things that I've crafted when I was younger, and you know, I've often asked you guys, like, what is the first thing that you guys crafted in real life? We've thought about that before also. But I was thinking about, like, something really sweet that I crafted. And the reason that I think it's really sweet is because I think that most of us have actually crafted this particular thing. Or maybe not like most of us, but at least a good number of us have crafted this thing. It's like one of the most common things that kids craft, right? And maybe not all kids. I think it's probably more of like a boy thing. I think like it's like a boy toy kind of thing. That I think most boys who have access to like the wild have crafted this particular thing. And I'm gonna tell you the story of this little crafting adventure that I went on and how it turned out in the end. And yeah, it's a pretty interesting story because it all starts in the science laboratory. And when I was in my first year of high school, we basically had to do all subjects. We got this chain leggings, the last one. Sweet. We basically had to do all of the subjects available in the school so that we could make our choice of what subjects we wanted to do as we approached like the next part of high school. I don't know if that's the same for you guys, but in my first year, we did like all subjects, right? And I did science for a bit, and man, I really loved science. Like I was really bad at it though, right? I was really bad at science, which was unfortunate because I absolutely loved it. But because I was bad at it, I didn't actually get to continue science into the later part of my high school. But for the few like months that I did science in the first in my first year of high school, I absolutely loved it, man. Science was so sweet. Science is sweet, man. And I don't know if this happens a lot to you guys, but I used to get like inspired in school. I know that sounds absolutely crazy, and you guys who are in school right now are probably face palming hard, man. Like, how do you get inspired at school, right? I mean, school is so freaking boring. But yeah, I used to get inspired at school, not all the time, but like sometimes I would learn something in school and it would touch the spot, and I'd be like, man, that is so awesome. And I remember very distinctly we were doing a science lesson on buoyancy. and we were learning about buoyancy and like the scientific reasons for buoyancy and all of that sort of stuff. And we were doing experiments with like polystyrene and bottles, and we were floating all of these various materials in a huge tank of water, and we were observing like the different buoyancy levels of different materials and stuff. I know it sounds super boring, but I thought it was really, really interesting, and I really loved the lesson. And man, I got so freaking expired, man. Expired? Give me 1 second. I need a sip of coffee. I got so inspired, not expired, by this buoyancy science lesson. And man, I thought to myself, I want to make something that floats. And wow, that sounds super dirty, man. I don't mean that kind of floater, okay? I'm talking about something that floats in a lake. That's what I was after, man. That's what I wanted to do. And I've told you guys the story about the lake, right? This lake was basically the centerpiece of many of my childhood adventures at high school. And I've told you guys the story about when I had to swim across the lake in the middle of the morning, or in the early morning, and my friend suffered from like an asthma attack. And I think I've told you guys a couple more stories about that lake. But that lake was basically the final entry point of the little mountain stream that I've told you guys about a lot. For those of you guys who are new subscribers, I went to a boarding school, an all-boys boarding school, very far away from any city or any civilization. It was basically a boarding school in the mountains of South Africa, and it was an amazing place to go to school, especially for someone like me who was into adventuring and exploring the mountainside and exploring nature. And I had loads of like really sweet adventures in this school, like in the surrounding natural areas of my school. And there was one particular mountain stream that ran through this valley that was behind my school, and I used to spend many of my weekends playing like near the stream and around the stream. And I did many things in that stream. I've told you guys many stories about that stream. But this stream ended in a giant ass lake, right? And well, okay, it wasn't. Oh my god, that is a ridiculous amount of skeleton. That is a ridiculous amount of skeletons. It wasn't a giant ass lake. It like, to me it was giant, right? Because I was small, man. I was like 12. So to me this lake was huge. But in fact this lake was probably no bigger than I don't know, 100 meters across or 200 meters across. It wasn't really big at all. But it was big enough to, like, that you had, it would take you like maybe a minute to swim across, I guess, from the start to the finish. I want to see what's up here, man. I don't know why there's so many freaking skelebutts up here. But this little lake, or this, like, I don't know if lake is the right word to use. I don't know what the definition of like a small lake is. I guess a pond is a small lake, but it was definitely bigger than a pond, right? So we'll just call it we'll just call it a freaking small lake, okay? This small lake was, yeah, it was about 100 meters across. And after the science lesson, man, I was freaking inspired. Oh man. And in my boarding school in my first year, I stayed in a dormitory of 6 other boys. So there were 6 of us living in one dormitory, right? And we didn't have separate cubicles or anything like that. We literally, our beds were all just in this one giant ass room. And next to each of our beds, we had a cupboard, and underneath our beds, we had a trunk. And that was it, man. That's how we lived, like 6 of us in one place. And it was actually really cool, because when you live like that with other people, or with other guys or girls or whatever, like, you become really close friends, because basically you sleep in the same place, you wake up in the same place. And we used to swap dormitories every 6 months, I think it was. But for the first 6 months of being at high school, I developed like really, really close friendships with the guys who were in my dormitory, because, when you suffer with people, you become really close to those people. Like, people that you suffer with become your best friends really, really easily. And there were 2 guys in this dormitory of mine that I became really, really close with. And we, in fact, shared most of the same lessons together also. And we also shared the science lesson together. And after the science lesson and that evening in our dormitory when we were going to sleep, I shared my inspiration with my 2 friends while we were falling asleep. I was like, guys, I got a plan, man. Like, I got a plan for this weekend that's going to blow your freaking brain balls straight out. Let's go to the small lake and make a raft. let's make something that will float and carry us across that lake, because, man, that would be freaking sweet. And my friends were like, yeah, man, that is a sweet ass idea. Now, we spoke about it for the next week or so, trying to figure out exactly, like, logistically how we were going to make this raft. And the year before I came to high school, these two friends of mine actually went to my junior school with me too. So I knew them, like I already knew them from before, right? So it was quite easy to become really good friends with them. But the year before we went to high school, we all went on what was called a character building experience by our junior school. And character building, as like some of you guys might know, I don't know if people still do character building in this day and age, but when you hear any adult talking about character building, that generally doesn't bode well for you as a kid, right? Because character building generally results in you having to do stuff that you don't really want to do, and it usually involves stuff like camping, team building exercises, like climbing up mountains, stuff like that, right? Adults seem to think that those sort of activities build character for some reason. I don't know, man. I don't know about that, but I don't think if I had kids, I don't think I would ever send them on character building freaking exercises. But anyway, we went on a character building exercise in my junior school, in the last year of my junior school before I went to high school. And on this character building excursion, we did a lot of hiking. I think in total we hiked 20 kilometers, which was pretty crazy for like a whole bunch of 11-year-olds to do. But one day on this character building exercise, we built a raft. And this character building exercise, I'll probably tell you guys about this character building exercise at some point. Had quite a lot of fun, actually. Quite a lot of crazy stuff went down. But on one day of this character building exercise, we had to build a raft. And that was actually the funnest part of that character building exercise, man. Building that raft was awesome. But the difference between building a raft on that character building exercise and building a raft at school was that on the character building exercise, the adults organized all of the materials for us, right? So they basically purchased like a whole bunch of rope, a whole bunch of empty barrels that we could use to build a raft. Now, at my high school, we obviously didn't have access to that sort of jazz. And I need to get rid of something here, man. I'm gonna get rid of these taters. We don't need so many freaking potatoes. And man, in one of the comments in the previous video, you guys were like, one of you guys said, why do you always bring so much freaking food on your adventures? And that's a fair point, my friend, fair point. We don't actually need to bring this much food. I usually go freaking overboard on the food. But anyway, guys, because we had experience building a raft on this character building excursion, my friends and I kind of knew what we needed. And because we had just, been through a buoyancy lesson in science, we kind of understood the science of making something float, right? I mean, it's not rocket science making something float. However, it is important to like understand the laws of buoyancy if you want to be able to make something really heavy float. Now, before we get into how we built this raft, I just want to say that one of my friends wasn't exactly the how do we say? Wasn't exactly the lightest of fellows. He was he was like a big boned chap. He was pretty heavy, man, and that means that we needed to compensate for his weight when we actually built our raft, and that means we needed to make it even more buoyant than we originally intended. And that means we needed to get a lot of freaking barrels and a lot of stuff that could float, like like polystyrene or anything like that. And we also needed to somehow find all of this jazz in a school. Now, luckily for us, we had once discovered a giant junkyard near the parking lot of our school, right? And it was the parking lot of the staff, of the teachers, should I say? And I think that this junkyard was basically a place where the school mechanic used to put like all of his excess material that he didn't need or didn't want to use. And maybe it was also a place where like teachers who were doing DIY work would also put like some of their stuff that they also made. But in this junkyard was was basically everything that we needed to achieve our goal. And that was absolutely awesome, right? Because we started thinking that night when we were in the dormitory, okay, how are we going to do this, man? Like, how are we going to, we need barrels, we need rope, we need like other stuff that could make the raft buoyant, like polystyrene or giant bottles or anything like that. That's what we need, right, to make this freaking raft. And that weekend, we spent a few days like planning the construction of the raft in homeworks time and stuff like that. During that week, we were drawing like blueprints of how we wanted the raft to work, using like the science theory that we'd learned in science to try and like figure out the best design for a raft. And we eventually came to a really sweet design for a raft that we think would work. And the only problem was we didn't have the materials, right? That was the only problem. We didn't have like the correct, and most importantly, we didn't have any barrels. And like that was the most important thing, right? And when I say barrels, I'm talking about giant ass barrels, like petrol barrels, right? You know, those like 75-liter barrels, or they're probably even bigger than that actually. Man, we're getting a whole ton of lapis now. Oh, we actually have enough lapis. No, not yet. We don't have enough lapis to make a block of lapis yet. But almost. We could probably get rid of these iron ingots, I think. Pick up this remaining lapis. I hear zombies here, man. It sounds like there's a dungeon or something around here, so I'm just trying to find it. So anyway, so that weekend, with our blueprints in hand, we headed off to the junkyard of the school, and we were determined to find at least 1 or 2 gas barrels. There was like a very small petrol station at the school that the teachers used to use to fill up their cars. So we knew that there has to be like some sort of like excess barrels, like oil barrels or any sort of barrels that we could find. There had to be something in that junkyard, right? And we went to the junkyard, and lo and behold, there underneath an old rusting bathtub were quite a few oil barrels. And I think that like a teacher or the mechanic or something was storing those barrels underneath that bathtub for future use. Maybe he thought that, you know, he could use it for oil or something like that at some other point. But basically someone had stashed all of these oil barrels underneath this bathtub. And that was so perfect for us, man. That was exactly what we needed. And I can't remember how many there were. I think there were like 4 or 5 fairly big barrels. I don't think they were the really, really big ones. I think they were like the medium-sized ones. But we pretty much worked out that those barrels would be almost enough to be able to make a raft that would hold myself and my 2 friends, and would also be able to hold my slightly rotund friend also. We kind of worked it out. And we probably worked it out completely incorrectly because we were 12. But anyway, that weekend, we carted off all of those barrels to a spot just above the small lake where we used to go hang out. It was basically a spot like that was in between 3 trees. It was kind of like a grove, right? And what we had done was we kind of turned this grove into like a mini fort, I guess. And we used a whole bunch of bramblewood branches. And bramblewood is like a weed that grows in South Africa. It's like these really strong branches, right? They're about as thick as your finger, but they're like really difficult to break, and they're covered in thorns. And we like cut down a whole bunch of that stuff for school. In fact, like the school used to make us, if we like one of the punishments at my school was to go bramblewood cutting, and we would cut away the bramblewood from the rugby fields and stuff like that, and then we'd carry the bramblewood into the forests and just make like a huge pile of it. But my friends and I used that bramblewood to like build up the walls of our forts, and this little fort that was just outside the mini lake had walls of this bramblewood, and we took all of our barrels there, and we basically we basically started collecting like all of the stuff that we need to build this raft in this area. So that weekend we collected like all of the materials we needed for our crafting mission, and we also spent that week buying bottles of like Coke and Pepsi and stuff at the tuck shop is what we called it. But it was basically like a little cafe that students could buy sweets and stuff from. Like I think it was twice a week or something. You could go to the tuck shop and spend your pocket money there. But we spent that week buying a whole bunch of like every day, or like whenever we could buy Coke bottles, we would buy them from the tuck shop, because obviously what we wanted to use those Coke bottles as buoyancy devices in our raft also. And like whenever anyone was drinking a Coke or something, we would say like, "Can we have your bottle, man? Can we have your bottle when you finished with it?" And we were looking in the bins of our hostel to try and find bottles. We just try to find as many bottles as we could so that we could make like a nice buoyant raft. Now, one of the other, now that we had solved our buoyancy problem, right? We had a whole bunch of Coke bottles and Pepsi bottles and a whole bunch of these big ass oil cans that we knew would be able to float quite well. The next big problem that we needed to solve was tying all of that jazz together, man. Like, we needed rope, right? Because you can't just like chuck a whole bunch of barrels onto a lake and then sit on them and then hope that they float. I don't know how many of you guys have ever tried to sit on a barrel in water. It doesn't work, man. The barrel just like rolls over and you just fall into the water like a dunce. You got to tie those barrels together. You need to make some sort of a platform to sit on also, right? Like you need to have some sort of like a deck, I guess, of your boat, because that's essentially what you're making. So our next big task was trying to find rope. Now, rope is much harder to find than barrels and bottles. And you need rope that's actually going to last, and that's actually going to be quite strong. Like, you can't just use some janky ass rope, or you can't use like dental floss or something like that to try and make a raft. Especially like if you think of our combined weights, right? Like my friend, myself, and my rotund friend, like we probably shared a combined weight of 100 kilograms, or I don't know, 120 kilograms or something like that. Now that, like, when you sit on a raft, that actually puts a lot of pressure onto all of the joints that are holding the buoyancy devices together. So say, for example, you have 5 oil cans as the buoyancy devices of your raft, and you sit on top of those oil cans in water, and those oil cans are all connected by rope. The strain that you put on that rope is quite immense, right? And now, especially if there's 3 of you sitting on a raft, like the strain on those ropes is going to be cray, man. And unless you have really strong rope, and unless you've tied the connections and the junctions properly, that rope's probably going to break. So we needed to find ourselves some really strong rope. Now, unfortunately, at the junkyard, there was no rope at all. We couldn't find any rope. I mean, what are the chances of finding rope in a junkyard? I mean, let's be honest here, people. Pretty freaking slim, right? So we had to improvise, right? And we were talking at night in our dormitory, trying to figure out, like, trying to solve this rope problem. Like, what were we going to use for rope? And I remember we started talking about, okay, we might not be able to find normal rope, but is there any other materials that we could use that could be as good as rope, and that could do the job well as rope? And one of my friends started to talk about using maybe a towel, right? And we were like, hang on, towels are pretty freaking strong, right? Like, they're made out of pretty thick material. We could use towels. That's a good idea. But the problem is, like, a towel is really, really thick. So my friend was like, okay, why don't we just cut those towels up into strips and then tie the strips together, and that way we can make some sweet ass rope. And that was a genius idea, of course. We obviously didn't care about the fact that we were destroying our towels. We probably should have cared about that, because later on, when the swimming season came, we didn't have any towels, and yeah, that's a whole other story. But that weekend, we took our towels to our mini fort just outside the mini lake, and we took our scissors also that we used at school, and we cut our towels into strips. And we tied those strips together to make rope. And we actually made some pretty good rope, I think. I mean, it was good enough for our purposes at the time. And it seemed to be holding up pretty well when you started tying everything together. The deck of the raft was made out of a giant wooden, I don't know how to explain it, but it was basically like a wooden crate, like the top of a wooden crate that we found in the junkyard. And it was a pretty big lid, I guess. I think it was probably the lid of a crate, right? And it was about 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters square. So it was a pretty big deck, big enough for 3 kids to sit on. So that was perfect. And what we started to do was like tie the tins together, and then basically what we tried to do, right, is make each tin as buoyant as possible. So we literally tied a whole bunch of what in the jazz? What is that? Oh, no. What are those things?